Alright, Diablo 4 Spiritborns, let's lock in with the brand new Season 8 Spiritborn build that can give you thousands, and I mean thousands of billions of damage. I know that there's a bunch of numbers to go ahead and actually see, but yes, if you, I guess, pause, you can find some of these billions and billions of damage. It's just in between, there's so many other attacks. It may be difficult to see, but let me go and see if we can get a go. There's a 900 billion, but again, you can get thousands and thousands of billions of damage. And what is causing this? Well, it comes down to the Noxious resonance, which you can see over here. Once we have our buffs up, it's going to give us a multiplier of almost 2,000 right here without even min-maxing my gear. However, it's kind of hard to take that screenshot. The reason why is I need all of these buffs up. Oh, okay, well, we got 1,900 right now, but when we have our buffs up, it's going to go crazy. And the reason why it goes crazy is because we get a lot of bonus damage based on crit, and we actually deal poison damage. Let's go and roll some other gameplay here. We'll do the brand new content. Alright, so let's go ahead and hop in and do the new content, so this way you guys can see kind of how the build performs in the open world, which is fantastic, as I want to show you guys new content because I feel like everyone's seen enough of the pit. But basically, yes, you get to teleport around. I'm just holding down the attack button. I am moving my mouse, but basically you get to teleport because, well, you have the Ravager, which makes it so your core skills let you teleport, which is awesome. But I have another screenshot over here. It's kind of hard to see the numbers, but yes, you can hit for billions and trillions of damage with this build, and it all has to do with poison. So I'll give you guys a little bit more gameplay. This way you guys can see kind of the buttons and how we utilize them. So we'll wait for this brand new incursion to go ahead and happen. And what it comes down to is pretty much you activate all of the other skills as buffs and you just hold down Crushing Hand. Now, Crushing Hand itself does not deal the damage, but I'll go over all of the important things to mention. But I want to also let you guys know that you can achieve 100% crit super easy in the build. In fact, we haven't even fully min-maxed this build. If we want to fully min-max the build, it will require you to technically get GA on crit. On these mythic items, which is kind of rare, so I wanted to make the build realistic too, as in, like, you know, honestly, if I had like a GA on crit on Air Perdition and Starless Skies, we'd actually get even more damage, but I opted to give you guys realistic gameplay that you can achieve. Now, to be straight up with you guys, this build right now in the gameplay, it does have our glyphs maxed out, but that's how it works right now in the PTR. But I want to show you guys one little quick incursion. I mean, you can see everything is just going to instantly melt. We actually do more damage if the target does survive, and the reason why is because the damage ramps up based on its missing life. So it's kind of cool in that aspect, where we're going to be able to, again, delete a lot of these brand new bosses that we're going to have access to in the newer season. This is going to take like a little bit of time, so let's go ahead and just rush over and touch the eye, and you'll see some elites spawn in, and again, everything just basically melts with this build. It's very, very fast, super smooth, and I like that it can teleport, and that is a nice addition to it, because it's not like a cooldown, it's just like your attack lets you teleport, as long as we can find. Okay, there's a group of elites. We'll go kill these, and then I'll go over the whole build guide. This is going to be like the early version keep buying. This is PTR, so things are subject to change, but yeah, the damage goes crazy. You're going to be knocking down all the targets as well, and you're going to be generating a bunch of shield as long as, well, you are attacking. So if you're in the pit, obviously you're going to be constantly fighting, whereas in the open world, you might need to move from place to place. But our Mega Belial boss fight, let's go. Look at that, look at that, look at that damage, dude. It's so insane.
Such a fragile thing.
And there we go. In just a few seconds, man, the Mega Belial is done. This is supposed to be like the super hard boss. Remember, guys, everything got way harder. But yeah, this build dominates. Let's go over the build, starting off with the gear. Now, I want to mention something that's interesting. Even though we are basically a damage over time build, we still stack crit. The reason why is Noxious Resonance, which I mentioned before. Again, the number over here, you're going to be in combat when this thing is actually like big, because you get another bonus if you actually block, and you're going to have crazy amounts of block chance over here. So if we go over to the defensive area, you get crazy amounts of block. Now, another thing I want to go ahead and mention is that if you want to run Tyraels, that is totally a-okay. It's up to you. You technically get a little bit less damage, but for the most part, you can run Tyrael in case you do want to go ahead and max out your resistances. But honestly, maxing out armor is important in Diablo. Resistances, a little bit less important. So for starters, as far as gear goes, this is what we are going to be running. So for the helmet, we want the Air of Perdition. I have 0 masterworking on the crit. That would be ideal because the rest of the stats don't really give us anything. There's no lucky hit in this build that really helps out. But specifically, Air of Perdition, you want, if you can masterwork it, getting all of the crit. If it is a GA, these two, if you get these two to be GA, you will be able to run this build without running one of the boss powers that we run. This power over here, Hatred's Embrace, allows us to get 70% critical strike chance, which is crazy amounts. Now, I feel like this number is incredibly high. Who knows if they will change this, but if they happen to be nerfing anything, I'll try to update you guys via the planner. But it's specifically, if you can get these to be good, then you do not need to get that boss power, but that is a huge source of crit. Basically, if you get this over here, even with 0 masterworking, that and the other thing is going to give you 100% because you have base 5% crit. So anyways, Air Perdition in the helmet slot, and then I'm running Igni Q to grant ourselves that Earthen Bulwark, which is going to grant us that barrier. We definitely want to go ahead and run that. It doesn't really matter if you run Igni or another one, but just run Q. Then we run the Shroud of False Death for a bunch of passives. There's not really anything important here to get. All stats would probably be the better thing to masterwork. Resource Gen is okay as well. And then we also have, I'm running Accelerating for even more attack speed. Technically, you could run something for another multiplier, but I like the feel of having this thing just teleport around and attack. It's great, but you can run anything that you want, and if you want to run any skill it's possible, I really recommend any core skill, not just for accelerating, but it lets you teleport, because if you don't happen to have it, well, this thing isn't going to let you teleport, because Ravager has this bonus while it's active, your core skills instantly dash, and on top of that, your vigor generation is increased by 30x. Which is really great. And then we are running in the pants. I'm playing Interdiction, so we get more block chance per resolve stack, so we get even more than what I have in this sheet. It's just that in combat, some of these numbers may not show in town. But ideally, you do want to get an armor roll somewhere in your pieces of gear, and then you can get the temper armor also in your pieces of gear. We do not need crit in the build as far as critical strike chance, but we do want crit damage. You can see I'm getting crit damage anywhere that I can because it increases our dot damage. And then we're running Duelist. That will give us extra ferocity over here. Getting the vigor per second can kind of help out as well, just to maintain your resources. Make sure you are actually attacking targets because it's part of the build. And then also we're running Creeping Death over here with as much crit as possible. Ideally, GA on the crit would give us the most bang for our buck. We also want to, this is important, you want to run the Quarterstaff. The Quarterstaff will give you a bonus of block chance on the implicit. That is very, very important. And then I'm running Seer Ohm, but honestly, play whatever you want here. If you want survivability, go for it. But I feel like most people just want damage in Diablo, so Ohm is kind of a nice one to have. And then we also run Redirected Force. If you played Spiritborn, you probably are familiar with this. And then if we can over here, getting reduced cooldown for our Hunter, which is our ultimate ability, would be okay. And then we also, again, want crit. Then we want Ring of the Starless Skies for a bunch of resource cost reduction, the crit, the attack speed, everything's good here. I actually don't need to get this thing to have attack speed. I'm actually overcapped. You'll see that if you go to my attack speed over here, we are actually overcapped. You actually have a limit of 100 in category 1. Now this one over here is considered in category 2. So this will actually make our attack speed bonus go even further than 100%. The game is coded where there's certain things that will give you over 100, but there's other ones that will not give you the bonus past 100. But the accelerating one will allow you to bypass that. And then we have Conceited over here, which gives you even more damage when you have a barrier, and obviously we have a barrier. The one thing that's important to mention with this build, you need some sort of way to apply vulnerability. Doesn't matter. Could be in your gloves, could be in your ring, could be in your amulet. You need a source of lucky chance to make enemies vulnerable. You could play Quill if you want to get around that, but then you don't have the knockdown, which gives you other bonuses. But this is something that is quite nice. Also, you can temper on your weapon. You obviously want crit every single spot, but the chance for Crushing Hand to extra hit, it's okay. It's really not that big of a deal. It's just that you want the overlaps to happen. It can kind of help out with overlap if there's another Crushing Hand, but it's not like super important like other builds where you usually want to masterwork that thing all the way. Honestly, getting the crit on the masterwork is fine as well. But again, you want to get the Hunter cooldown reduction, as much crit as possible. Now for the Spiritborn Spirit Halls, this is pretty important. You need to run Centipede. The damage it deals doesn't matter. It's because everything applies. Hitting an enemy with a Centipede skill reduces and then also slows them. So Every skill becomes a centipede skill, therefore you will also slow and do poison damage. This is important. This poison damage is irrelevant how much it does, but you do want the slow so it's affected by crowd control. And then we run Gorilla. You can run anything that you want in the secondary one, but I like Gorilla because I'm never frozen, I'm never like slowed, feared. I remove all of that because I have my stacks of resolve up, and therefore it's going to give us unstoppable permanently, which is awesome. This is one of the greatest quality of lives that Spiritborn has over any of the other classes, is that you're just basically immune to all of like the negative things in the game. As far as the boss powers, this is actually very important. Obviously we're in season 8. So for the main power, we play as Shavas. So when we hit an enemy affected by a damage over time, remember, we always deal poison damage. It's going to deal this poison damage, and it ramps up. The more that they are missing HP, we get even more damage. And then we also play on Dario's Flaming Skull. This gives us a multiplier on the more damage for damage over time effects. And so for this one over here, it does also deal some small amount of burn damage, but it's mainly that you just want that 40x multiplier pretty much. And then we run Hatred's Embrace, because if I did not have this, I would not have, you can see right now we have 65 crit. If we happen to masterwork the things and we have 100% crit, we could drop this completely and play another power that can do damage or add utility, doesn't matter. But these two are, I would say, the most important ones. The other ones, if you want to play them, this one, if you need the crit, you have to run it. You want 100% crit in this build, but if you don't have 100%, run this. The other one over here is Avarice's Explosive Ore. I actually was playing this without it, and it was definitely still very successful, but if you really want to start pushing in the pits and stuff, this is probably what you want to go ahead and shoot for, because again, it's going to give you even more damage. What's happening is when you activate your main boss power, it's going to spend all of your resource, and then you're going to get an increase by 3.4 per resource spent. We actually get a bunch of extra resources on our Paragon board, so this gives even crazier in terms of the damage. But next up, we have the skill tree. So as far as the skill tree goes, the first 2 points do not matter. Put in whatever you want. The core skill, pick the one that you want. I personally really like Crushing Hand because it knocks them down, giving us extra survivability. And then on top of that, it grants you a barrier up to the damage that it deals. I mean, honestly, this is pretty small, but it's okay because you have to get it anyways. There's another one where it does more damage, but remember, this doesn't deal the damage. All the damage is coming from poison in this build. And then we can also run this over here, so it gives us extra regen here, and then we're gonna get extra regen on the Paragon board as well. And then we're just basically maxing out anywhere where it says 4 is where I put 3 points into it, and also because Shroud of False Death. With this over here, Ravager, we definitely want this. This is important. You can play any core skill that you want. You don't have to play a core skill tactically, but then you lose out on the teleport. And if I was to swap up the skill, I would actually recommend Quill Volley. That will make it so you don't have to get the vulnerability, but honestly, choose whatever one that you want. And then we get some extra heals over here. I like this one. This is kind of nice to have extra survivability. And then we want to get the max amount of the armored hide over here. I put 2 points into it, so we get the passive for extra resolve. Max both of these out. And then we're getting this one where we get to get an extra barriers when we're out of combat. This one over here is great because it's going to give us extra regen, because we're going to utilize that when we're kind of going in between packs or if we're attacking nothing. Then we have Resilient here just for more HP. You can also temper this on pieces of gear. In fact, some of my tempers are actually like bricked in this build, but even though we don't do damage with the Jaguar skill, it's just hitting enemies with a Jaguar skills increases the damage they take from you. This one over here, Jaguar skills deal increased critical strike damage. Now remember, all of our damage actually comes with the poison, not our skill, so we don't get Furnace in here. And then we max out the Hunter, because this is a really great skill, gives us a bunch of like damage. We got 100x increased damage to injured, which makes the damage go even crazy. That's how we can go for the trillions of damage. And then we have Noxious Resonance here. Again, this is what we ramp up. You could probably get this up really high. Again, you just get everything GA on crit, and then masterwork it, and this number can go way over 2,000. All right, for the Paragon board, we're gonna be starting off with Bane because it is a poison build, and this is one of the best things in the game. It's just really up for that additional bonus. We get double the amount of poison. It is a chance though, but yeah, that's what we definitely do want. And then we are gonna be moving into the first board, which is gonna be Vicious Shield. That's why we play the Q rune, and that way we get our bonuses from where we have a barrier. Then we want to run Fitness. Fitness gives us extra crit. We want to get crit, like I mentioned several times. So this is going to be really key here. And again, we are getting Vicious Shield here. And then we are also getting, in the next board, we can get Sapping. This is going to give us a extra amount of damage plus restoring our resources. And then we're going to be getting Menagerist here. Menagerist gives us bonus to magic nodes. These magic nodes are going to be a multiplier here in terms of damage, because remember, we get more damage based on the amount of our resource when we actually uses our special boss power. And then we go into Convergence here, and we're going to be taking up Spirit. This gives us additional crit strike damage. This is going to also give us more damage when we actually crit strike the enemy, which is every single hit. We have 100% crit in this build, so yeah, we get all of the bonuses over here, and it's going to be awesome. So yeah, once again, Convergence and Spirit. And then for the last board, we're going to be running Exploit. So this is a good source of instant vulnerability, but again, we still want that lucky hit chance to apply it, because, well, I'll be honest, a lot of the bosses may take more than 3 seconds to actually eliminate them, and so this is going to help us out, especially if we want to do any pit pushing. You need more than just Exploit, but it is a great one to go ahead and actually have. But honestly, as far as it goes, you could run something else if you really wanted to. There's another one that I could recommend called Canny. So what Canny does is it's more damage that is non-physical, but it's up to you. If you want to run that one, you can go for it. But I just like this guaranteed instant vulnerability, and then the other one can then activate, if that makes any sense. That way, the first initial hit feels really punchy versus if you didn't get the lucky hit on the first one, the second or third one may happen to have it. So I like it. It makes the build feel snappy, but feel free to go ahead and swap this one out if you really want to. And then we are also getting Revealing here. So remember how I was talking about the reason why I played the Gorilla Fist? Well, you have that chance to knock down the enemy on this, but it also has the knockdown just built into the build, and then we get to deal increased damage to crowd controlled enemies. And well, we always deal that bonus because we always have our Centipede Spirit Hall, so that bonus is always going to be there. The other option that I was thinking about running, it does give you a 40x multiplier on poison, is Bitter Medicine. The problem with it though is that it is really, really dangerous to run because it requires you to actually heal up HP, which would require like Jacinthe Shell, which is very, very rough in Season 8 to play. I probably wouldn't recommend it for most players, but for people that do want to try it out, because I always like talking about theory crafting, that could be another option if you didn't want to run this one, because against bosses, obviously, you haven't knocked down the boss until, of course, the stagger bar builds up. Therefore, in theory, that one would be okay to run against bosses, but again, you have to actually drain your HP somehow to get to work, and it is another hurdle to jump, but I would just recommend this set of nodes for the Paragon board. The thing is that I don't know if this is going to get nerfed. However, if they do not nerf this is going to be one of the, I would say, one of the top tier builds for Spiritborn going into the next season. But honestly, you could take a lot of the builds, guys, and you could just run, in particular, any of these like sort of like boss powers, and your build will be top tier. As long as you have something to scale for the dot, it's going to be very, very good. But another key thing is you need 100% crit in this build. Even though it's a damage over time, you want to get critical strike damage and 100% crit. So just make that as a small note. And again, another important thing is you need that source of vulnerability unless you want to run Quill. If you want to run Quill and you want to make the ones return to, you can go for it. But as far as I'm aware of, the way that these skills activate, where it says like when you do, like this technically has an internal cooldown anyways, but a lot of the skills activate based on your first initial button push of the skill versus how many times the skills actually hit. Because I was testing it out, because this is kind of theory crafty since it's PTR. I was really trying to run the Sharp Thrash because the third attack, like it hits them like so many times for like 5 damage. It's like almost no damage, but it hits them so many dang times. It does not proc any of the, when you cast a skill, well, this one's technically a core skill, but if it says that it works off of a skill, it's the initial button push, not the amount of times that it actually hits, if that makes any sense. So keep that in mind, and mostly every single build will be pretty good this season. Another thing that I want to mention, there is a ring called the Ring of the Midday Hunt. And what this does, the rest of the stats don't matter, it always rolls with this, by the way, is your maximum vigor is increased by 50%. So that would be another 50% of whatever we have. And remember, we could pop a resource potion, and we can get another like 100, and another 100 over here in theory, because it does damage. Another 100 would be another 340x multiplier here. So if you really want to run this instead of this ring, you can go ahead and do so, but then you have to get vulnerable again on your gloves or your amulet. So there's a little bit of room for, I think, other theory crafting like options here, but let me know down below if there's any other good ones. And again, I'll link the build planner in the pinned and in the link in the bio. But anyways, have some fun with this build, Spiritborn. It looks like we're back on top, unless of course we get nerfed again. But anyways, if you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you want to be up to date on this build, if there are any changes, if it gets gets nerfed. Maybe we have some other workarounds. Subscribe, turn the bell, and I'll update you guys if things change before Season 8 actually launches. But take care, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.